Hi. I just kind of got onto this Cashify pyrohh silver. Needs to change his name because no one seems to remember the whole thing. I don't. Anyway, so pyrohh is kind of defending this idea that of an annihilation of the ego, and I suppose I had started a video some time ago about not having an internal monologue, and that was because the monologue had become exterior. It was no longer self-refracting in my mind, so it was no longer egonic. I like to use that term. How this came about would be similar to asking you to take all that you consider your world, all words, all lexicon, all things that come together that define you, and and center it under a name. Call the name pyrohh, but then give it a color. Give it, let's say you give this totality of your world as you're engaging it in the most grand dilated sense that you see yourself, and you grant it one color. Then let's say you, so to speak, metaphorically, move yourself into Photoshop, and it's your job at that point to decenter the color yellow outside of that which is the pyrohh. You have to change the color. You have to remove the color. Kind of like in video game programming, you're left with an artificial outline that you get to refill in. So when you decenter the color and you move it out, if your ego identified with that, you can decenter yourself from yourself, hence spilling yourself over. It's an irrecoverable injunction, is how Cashify like to use the word. I considered it a type of death. I suggested that this was an exercise going against what Hobbes was calling lex naturalis. The process of going against lex naturalis is to negate everything, all phenomenological namings, and to the point where you're exhausted, but you continue to obscure the most rudimentary phenomenological uh, namings that one can have. You do this in order to fragment your memory, your station, in order to allow yourself to decenter the totality of what it is that you call you. Notice that what follows the Brahman is Shiva. Shiva is the destroyer. I picked the name Das Puk. Das Puk is also from William Burroughs talking about Das, DAS Puk, which is a Mayan destroyer. I believe it's Mayan. The idea behind Shiva, behind going against lex naturalis, behind destroying the ego, behind annihilating and destroying one's head and one's space, is to enlighten oneself to one's death, but it is to fracture oneself. You need a hell of a support group in order to do this, but this is the next level. But by next level, I mean to suggest something like this. Professor Anton is as well as many individuals. A lot of individuals that are bonded with significant others. They have a perceived notion of things going their way nicely, so to speak. By going their way, though, it doesn't mean that this couldn't happen, but it's something to do with they're not sharing they are sharing their experience with another person, a significant other, so they're bonded with them. A type of nihilism that's taken to the next level requires a complete disattachment to all relationships and to all loves and to all senses of one's teleologic direction. It would be to fool the psyche and to make serious everything that is fun and make fun everything that's serious. It's to invert and pull away from all. Once Brahma moves into Shiva and the psyche is destroyed, then you're into the zombie problem. I think, and when I say this, that you need a support group, I mean you need people that before you, I don't know. In one way, it's akin to saying you need to know that you're, well, you don't need to know anything. You just need to do it. And if the world of humans comes to save your dying self or persecute the dying self, then how to put it? Then you can try to uh, take the self that is spilled out of its glass of water, so to speak. If you take your psyche and your ego like a glass of water and you dump it out, and you try to recover it, you try to pick up the water and place it back into the glass, you will find that you're not able to do so, at least in my experience. So terms of ises, pronouns of yous, me's, whom's, everything becomes flushed away. There's a type of magnetism then you find that is a reminder of that which was center, that is now decentered. And as you pull together the bit particles and, like a mosaic, try to bring one's psyche back to inform oneself, and perhaps this is just a masculine activity, perhaps women are less, because of their corpus callosum, to separate their mind in order for this process. Perhaps this Shiva being feminine is effeminized for the masculine, for the man to enter into destruction. And so the whole idea here is that it'd be like, well, I lost that train of thought, but pulling oneself back, pulling particles of existence back to a center, but since you'd be decentered, you would no longer be in your own skin. You would be dead at that point. So this is different than being born again. It's dying unto the world. Babel should occur. The difference between Professor Anton, let's say, his philosophy or the notion of the ontic fissures falling into nothingness relative to one's psyche and one's world and how we share that. To destroy oneself would be to mirror that indifferentiated psyche into one's waking being, and to see one's waking existence as a completeness of nothingness. There should be no color differentiation at a singular point. It should be pure white and pure black, pure nothing or pure everything. And that's the beginning step on how to lose one's monologue. A certain starting point would be to mimic another individual so heavily, kind of like in Single White Female or some other horror shows where one is mimicking somebody else to start the process of losing oneself. You might want to do that. Anyway, there's some thoughts. By the way, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it.